we've been showing you the threats facing the world's largest living structure, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Today, Keith Kosinski tags along with some young people and scientists to see how they're helping this natural wonder as we continue a look at a reef in danger.
Protecting the reef as much as we can so that it's there for future generations, because it really is a one-of-a-kind ecosystem.
Wayne Cawthorn and Hannah King are part of a team of over 100,000 Reef Guardian students across Australia. The program started in 2003, working with schools to preserve a natural wonder by addressing things like overfishing, pollution, and climate change.
It hasn't done anything to us, it's just always been there, and us humans have been always negatively affecting it.
If you had to describe why you're out here protecting the Great Barrier Reef in one word, what would it be?
Obligation. I feel like my dad used to take me out all the time when I was a kid, and he's all about the snorkeling and the free diving, and I want to be able to do that for my kids as well.
At this river in Townsville, Australia, a few miles away from the ocean, these teens get their hands dirty testing water quality. But how does something miles away from the ocean affect the health of the Great Barrier Reef? Well, this river will eventually flow into the ocean, and if the water's polluted here, it can damage the reef.
Despite being a little bit further inland, it all has a flow-on effect to the Great Barrier Reef. So it's important that we understand what's happening here so that we can gauge the kind of impacts that it has on the reef.
Saving a busy underwater city that's thousands of years old from becoming a desolate wasteland takes a lot of hard work.
These horrible things that are happening to the reef, it's really quite a terrifying thought, but it's also empowering. I feel like this is something that I can have an impact on, and I can influence other people to try and save the reef as well. Climate
change is causing the waters to warm and the animals inside the coral to die, leaving the coral bleached.
At this stage, we can still make a difference, but there's a lot like, how much are we willing to do about it?
It's not going to be easy to reverse the damage, but these scientists are trying. What's your overall goal with it?
To save corals, to produce thermally tolerant corals so that in 50, 100 years' time we still have our coral reefs.
It's called the Assisted Evolution of Corals Project at the Australian Institute of Marine Science, a leading facility in coral research.
What we're trying to do is just to accelerate naturally occurring process. So evolution is natural. We know that hybridization is natural.
The scientists want to create stronger coral and algae that can live in warmer waters. They're doing that by breeding it with another species of coral, called hybridization. They're hoping to make coral that can tolerate higher water temperatures and more carbon dioxide. Some are calling it super coral. What makes it so super?
You can call it super coral if you want to. The whole idea of assisted evolution is we're trying to enhance certain trait of an organism.
The hope is it will help save the Great Barrier Reef. How successful have you been in terms of your experiment?
Very successful, yeah. So I did an experiment. I actually took some tiny baby corals that had no algae in them, so they were all white. I exposed them to these thermally tolerant Cymbidium, and they did much better than the ones that hadn't been exposed to any heat stress.
But critics say it's only a short-term fix, and it's not addressing the root problem. Looking towards the future, what do you believe is the solution to this? And in addition to that, there are projects like the Assisted Evolution of Corals Project. How do you feel about that?
I think the only way we're going to secure a future for coral reefs is to deal head-on with the issue, which is global warming and greenhouse gas emissions. If we don't do that, then there's no hope for coral reefs.
Keith Kosinski, Channel 1 News.
Thanks, Keith. Some amazing young people. Now, did you know some of the most poisonous animals in the world live in Australia? Super anchor Keith and Captain Camera Ronnie were at it again and found out firsthand when they encountered one of the deadliest animals in the world. Check it out at channel1.com. All right, coming up, we're running through a time in history when women were not allowed to run.